Well, I think we know what the Honda Prelude is going to cost in America finally, and it's not good news. We don't have official pricing just yet, but we just got what seems to be official pricing thanks to 4 dealer listings that are starting to pop up on Auto Trader and on actual dealer websites here for inbound in transit Preludes, which are apparently now in transit to dealers. And the pricing, there's 3 of them that are priced at $43,650. One is at $43,850, which is for the white frost pearl or whatever. So that might be the explanation there. Now, it's important to note that these prices are most likely for a top trim, fully loaded. They're going to ship, the top stuff for the early adopters that have blank checks and just want a Prelude and don't care how much it costs. So, I don't think that's the starting price. And who knows what they have planned as far as trim structure. We still don't know any of this stuff yet, even though, again, these are inbound to dealers, and Honda likes waiting until the very last second to release pricing and all that kind of stuff sometimes. So, I don't think that that's the starting price, but I think to start, that's, what the first ones coming into the dealers will be costing before markups. And we know Honda dealers are famous for having some of the worst markups in the industry. So, that's the pricing, though. And before I get into, just an overview very briefly of all the things you can get for the same or less money, I will give the Honda one bone. I will throw them one little defense, and that is that when you adjust for inflation, the Prelude in 2001 for the Type SH, the top handling, top priced version of the Prelude in 2001, cost $26,450. Adjusted for inflation, though, that is the equivalent of $49,230. So, in the lens of inflation, yes, it's reasonably priced, I suppose. Now, obviously, there's other things. Cost of living's gone up, housing's gone up. So, it's not an apples to apples comparison. But, it's just like Honda hasn't looked at the competition, the market at all. And the fact that they think they can get basically a 10 grand premium for what is essentially a Honda Civic hybrid coupe. Yes, it has Brembos, which it doesn't need with 200 horsepower. There's exactly maybe 5 people in America that will track a 200 horsepower Prelude automatic hybrid thing. So, I like the idea of Prelude, but I like the idea of Prelude at 1 to 2 grand premium, maybe over Civic hybrid, not 10 grand. And so, just as a refresher for those of you who maybe, haven't followed the pricing of all these cars in the past few years, a Civic Type R is still just $47,000 with 115 more horsepower and all the other extra stuff, the better seats, you can go on and on about all the Type R stuff. I reviewed the Type R. Check that out if you want a refresher of what you can get for just basically $3,000 more. But even if you're a huge Honda fan, why would you not just get Type R? It just doesn't make any sense. And like I said, so Civic, that you can get in the hatchback or the sedan, but either way, it's about $33,500 for a fully loaded, leather, very nice Civic touring hybrid. 33.5. This is 43.5. I don't understand where they think that's coming from. Yes, the Prelude gets the Brembos. It also gets adaptive dampers. I desperately hope that they come out with a version that doesn't have those 2 things, so that they bring the price down a little bit, because obviously the Brembos are expensive. The adaptive dampers are expensive. And I think both of those things are completely unneeded for people who essentially just want a coupe Civic hybrid, and trying to add those 2 things and then making an argument that it transcends those cars 10 grand higher and that it's, almost equivalent to a Type R, is just, an insane argument that doesn't hold up. I'm assuming we'll get a Type R version of Prelude at some point, because if they're going to copy and paste powertrains, it's very easy to copy and paste the Type R powertrain as well. But if we're talking a 10 grand premium over Civic still, then that means it'd be a $57,000 to start Prelude Type R, if that ever does happen and they stick with the same price margin there. But beyond that, you can get even SI is still 32,000. And there's even just like the idea of all the other competitors outside of Honda too, where you can get a Nissan Z with 400 horsepower for the same like $44,000. Same thing goes. You can get a GR86 with even the performance pack, which has its own Brembos and Sachs dampers. That's $34,000. And even if you get the premium and stuff, that's a few thousand more, but still way under the 43. And you get more power. You get the manual. You get none of the hybrid stuff, which I think most enthusiasts probably don't want. And it's a rear-wheel drive real sports car, not a front-wheel drive, Civic-based thing, which, I mean, again, I love Civic, but not at 43 grand. And so, even a Mustang EcoBoost, 315 horsepower, if you really want a coupe, $35,000, and that's before big discounts, by the way. Same thing for Z. Z is the equivalent price, but a lot of people are getting huge discounts. Mustang, I was just talking to some viewers just last night who were getting GTs for 10 grand off, and EcoBoost even for 9 grand off. So I mean, we're talking about cars in the mid 20s for an EcoBoost, mid 30s for a GT with 480 horsepower. And even if MSRP for a 480 horsepower Mustang GT is $46,500. Now, it does not include the Brembos and stuff, which can push it over 50. But even if you say a Brembo performance package Mustang GT that's stickering for 51, if you can get it for 41, you're still under a Prelude, assuming you can find one at MSRP, which will probably be an achievement for a while. Honda does a lot of strange things. I've complained about this in my live streams and other places in the past. There's lots of low-hanging fruit and head-scratching decisions. Why do we not have an all-wheel drive Accord? Why do we not have a hybrid version of the HR-V, of the ADX, of the Integra? Why did they resurrect the RSX name for an electric crossover? Why did they let the RDX die on the vine when it's their number one breadwinner for the Acura brand? I mean, there's a lot of these things where and this just is another one of those decisions where, did you look at the competition? Is this just an echo chamber and they all just agreed that, yeah, 10 grand price premium totally works? And again, maybe this is inaccurate information. Maybe all of these dealers, but the fact there's multiple dealers with the same exact MSRP makes me think it is based in some kind of reality. Maybe it's a placeholder number. I would love to be wrong. I hope and plead with Honda, please prove me wrong. Make this thing cheaper. But even if it is just a top version loaded up, with all the packages and stuff, it shouldn't get that expensive. It should be impossible to get one that expensive. I mean, Integra, it's stepping on Integra's toes. Even a 2026 Integra, which got a price bump as well, which is unfortunate. That's now over $40,000 for a manual top Integra, but it's just over 40. It's like 40,300 or something. So you're still talking over 3 grand more than Integra. That can't look good that your Honda is more expensive than the Acura that it's based on. The whole thing is just indefensible. And again, I hope that we're wrong. I hope that I can just delete this video whenever pricing comes out and it's 2 grand more than Civic Hybrid. I'll be jumping for joy. But until then, I think this car is dead on arrival, unfortunately. In a vacuum, it's fantastic, and obviously it's going to sell to the diehards that don't care what it is and just see a Prelude badge and buy it because it's a Honda Prelude. But, it's just, I don't understand how companies get pricing so wrong sometimes. Some companies do a great job with it, but others it's just completely, I don't know, out of touch with reality, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, that got me all worked up. Hope you enjoyed what is the first of maybe future Matt Marant's here on the Matt Maran Motoring channel here. Let me know your thoughts on Prelude in the comments below. I'm sure you guys won't hold back. And yes, Honda, please fix the pricing. I'm excited for Prelude. I think it's going to be a really cool idea, and I like the idea of a coupe version of the Civic Hybrid, which is a fantastic car. I wish Honda nothing but the best. I want them to succeed, and that's why I'm so fired up, because this car could be a success with the right price, and instead, I fear that it probably won't be. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.